Hello, my name is Dr. Phyllis Hayes. I'm Assistant Vice Chancellor for External Engagement here at UIC. I was born and raised into a family of civil rights and labor leaders. I also call them change agents. I was born in 1955, and it was at the height of the civil rights movement, civic engagement, and community impactment, and each of them are a part of my DNA. I worked on my first campaign at the age of 5 years old. I didn't know what I was doing at age 5, but in 1960, my parents, Harold and Lee Ellen, and my uncle, a former labor leader and Congressman, Charles Arthur Hayes, gathered our family together and told us that Senator then John F. Kennedy wanted to run for president of these United States. And he said that this particular man would improve the lifestyle for, at that time, we were known as Negroes. So we gathered our family, we knocked on doors, and we collected signatures. In 1960, as I mentioned, we were called Negroes. And my Uncle Charles educated our family and community members on the importance of voting, knocking on doors, informing people that if we get John F. Kennedy on the ballot, it would improve the lifestyle of all. He also told us that John F. Kennedy, if he became the president, was going to improve the life of Negroes and give us a chance to have access, equity, and be included as fine Americans just like other folks who reside in this country. Now, as you can imagine, at age 5, I really didn't know what I was doing. But my siblings and I followed my parents and our other members. We knocked on doors and talked to folks about voting and civic engagement. And we understood that it was truly for the betterment of mankind. Now, being born into the movement, as I call it, I learned about the importance of volunteering, holding conversations, voting, and the movement itself. So by the time I was 12 years old, I understood the importance of civic engagement and what a difference it made in our communities, our lifestyle, and how much work was involved in making change, because not only did we work on the weekends, but sometimes after school we had to knock on doors. The toughest time of this preparation as a community leader was between the years of 1968 and 1977. During that time period, I personally experienced watching the deaths of some of my favorite motivators and community leaders. Back then, our televisions were black and white, and they went off at 12 o'clock a.m. But I distinctly remember to this day when the news announced the deaths of John F. Kennedy, Medgar Evers, Martin Luther King Jr., Robert Kennedy, Malcolm X, and others who tried to improve life in society. On August 28, 1963, I was 8 years old. My family and I sat down to watch Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech, because he was at the NAACP March on Washington. Whereas my Uncle Charles, who was a labor leader then, he was marching right alongside Martin Luther King. And this was truly something to embellish. During that entire year, prior to the march, my uncle spoke about the impact of this march and what it would do for Negroes, and that this historic march would make life better for us. So saying all that to say, I, Phyllis Hayes, the formation and development of me was innate. The influences of our nation and world leaders made me the person that I am today. Even within my personal experience in 1969, I integrated George Washington High School, which was an all-white school, and it truly taught me an experience about access, diversity, and inclusion. Altogether, these experiences are the reason why I'm committed to change and why I believe in the power of civic engagement and community. Civic engagement has been a part of my life for over 60 years now. It embodies political activism, dedication, commitment, education, empowerment, faith, and determination. I was taught that collectively, these actions would help improve the quality of life, which is why in 2003, one of my former teachers in graduate school, Dr. Frances G. Carroll, who was a trustee here at the University of Illinois, contacted me to say that she and then former Senator Emil Jones Jr. wanted me to come to UIC to help improve the quality of life, to recruit, retain, and graduate more students of color. In 2004, I was appointed as the Director of School Relations here at UIC. And it was at that time that I reflected back and realized the power of community, the impact of me knocking on doors, meeting, greeting people, registering people, organizing, working on Harold Washington's campaign, Barack Obama's campaign. All of this was a part of me in civic engagement. So little did I know at age 5 that I was preparing myself for my life's work, helping others, fighting for equal rights, protecting our rights, and again, understanding the power of community. As I previewed the impact of civic engagement over the next 5 years, it is my hope that our communities, which include both Black and Latino, will continue to unite with efforts to educate, empower, and teach our families about the importance of using their civic engagement and voting rights so that we can continue to have access, diversity, and inclusion. And unfortunately, as we stand here today, Black and brown communities are still struggling with society to be accepted as equals. When we educate, communicate, and empower each other, we have the opportunity to nourish, the opportunity to flourish the next generation of leaders. In 1947, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. stated that education, the function of education, is to teach one and to think intensively and think critically. He also noted that intelligence plus character is the goal of true education. It is my hope that over the next 5 years, we will continue to bring process and progress. We have organizations like Black Lives Matter who have been in the storm for the past 5 years, doing their thing to educate and empower folks of generation, as I call it, X, Y, and Z. So I do believe that the next generation of leaders will pick up where my generation has left off, because our time will be up one day. Well, as I reflect back on our history and the impact of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which of course was designed to prohibit discrimination of race, color, religion, sex, or origin, I've asked myself on many occasions, why did we have sit-ins? Why did we have marches during the 1960s? Whereas as we stand here today, we are still dealing with challenges of civil rights and community engagement. So back in the 60s and 70s when I was growing up, there was a movement of pride that I don't think exists today like it did. Back in the 70s, as our civil rights were taking flight, I'll call it, we had entertainers like James Brown. I was in 8th grade, I remember when this song came out, and James Brown told us, "Say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud." This song was a motivator for our communities, and folks began to believe that we counted for something and that we were something. Even after the deaths of our leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X, who tried very hard to empower and enhance, but their lives were cut short because of what they believed in and what our nation could be as it stands today. It is my belief that we have to reconnect to our communities and try very, very hard to rebuild the connection that we had. For example, when President Obama ran for office, for his ability to be a leader and a communicator who brought the entire nation together and the world together with a little taste of love, hope, prosperity, and as Reverend Jesse Jackson Jr. told us, we should keep hope alive. Our young people need to learn their history. They do not know their self-worth. The conflict and lack of discipline inside of our households need to be addressed. We have a lot of families who are suffering, a lot of households who are single-parent households. We've got to change the trajectory and try to reunite our families. Someone like the words as described by Carter G. Woodson, who published The Miseducation of the Negro in 1933. He said, "If you can control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his actions." Another famous quote, I really love this one, is the one where he stated, "A race that does not know its history is like a tree without roots." Now, these statements were published in 1933, and here we stand today, our communities in disarray without knowing their worth. And Carter G. Woodson also stated, "The only way to correct a wrong is to educate the people." And to my Black and brown communities, this was the purpose and intention of the UIC Institute for Policy and Civic Engagement. Senator Emil Jones phoned me in 2008, right before the Christmas holiday, and he said, "Hey Phyllis, I think that UIC needs a policy institute. We've got some money. What do you think about it? Can you get with your boss? Can you guys write something up for us?" He said, "Because I'm concerned about Black and brown people. I'm concerned about the fact that people don't know the legislative process. They don't know who their legislators are." So over the 2008 Christmas holiday. My co-chair, Dr. Warren Chapman, and I spent time creating this institute, which, as I understand, is 16 years old this year. Can't believe 16 years have passed. The mission of this institute is to provide opportunities for students, scholars, concerned citizens, and government to participate in educational programs and public discourse on current trends and policy issues. Our UIC Institute for Policy and Civic Engagement was also created to address and identify our community's needs and whatever issues of concern they have. As mentioned, here we are, 16 years later, still grinding at the cause. I'd like to take time to thank Senator Emil Jones, who this was his baby. He and the Illinois General Assembly, they entrusted the future leaders in our hands, and the Policy Civic Engagement and Policy Institute has done more and looking forward to doing even more. We have a very capable staff, which I'm so proud to say that Dr. Horth and Norma Ramos are still here. These are the same leaders that we identified before we even got the money. So kudos to them. I'd also like to take time to give kudos to my partner in crime, Mr. Kendall Parker, who is the former director of the UIC Chance program, but he is now the senior director of advancement right here at UIC. For even after we submitted our paperwork, Kendall and I had to get on the highway between the months of January to March, going back and forth to Springfield, making sure that this money was set in place for the Institute for Policy and Civic Engagement. And at that time, it was $1.5 million, and we were really glad when it came through in May of 2009, I do believe. So the civic engagement component of this institute lies deep within me, and I love and cherish everything that we've done to date. Well, in order to be civically engaged, you must be dedicated, committed, trustworthy, and know that sleep will not be at the forefront of your mission. You must be a leader who is driven by a purpose to be effective in our communities that we serve and this nation at large. You must be prepared for when folks don't believe in you or they don't agree with what you want to do. They'll knock you down. They'll talk about you. They're going to write things about you that's not true. But the test will be your willingness to stay the course. Get back up and keep fighting for what you believe in and what is right. And sometimes you must repeat this process over and over, but know that you have a purpose and you must deal with it. Well, I must say, my parents, my Uncle Charles, folks who led the road and explored the path and showed me the path. I'm a single mom. I must say that my son is a big mentor to me because he was raised by me, my family, my friends, my dad, and he's turned out to be just quite the gentleman. My other family members, Senator Emil Jones Jr., who guided and protected, and which is why I sit here today. Dr. Frances Carroll, former trustee, University of Illinois. Her sister, Dr. Grace Dawson, both of these ladies educators, former trustee of Northeastern Illinois, former President Barack Obama, who I worked every campaign he had. And most recently, the reason why I sit here today as the Assistant Vice Chancellor for External Engagement here at UI Health, where I have the awesome opportunity to deal with local, state, and federal legislators. I was almost ready to put my foot out the door. I had that word retirement on mind. And Dr. Robert Barish, who is our Vice Chancellor here at UI Health, former Vice Chancellor J. Rex Tolliver, former Chancellor Michael Emeritus, they pulled my coattail and they were like, listen, you want to help the community, you want to do something, don't leave us now. So they have been big mentors and helped play a role in my lifestyle. My 45-year career so far, I'm still churning and gonna try to keep kicking, but we still have rights to fight for. So what drives me is the quest to help someone else along the way, someone who is in need. As I battle today, I battle for our patients who have to wait 13 hours sometimes in the waiting room before they get a bed. Those kind of things, the needs and wants of our communities, things that are a must, keep me motivated. This changed to me and the things that I stay up at night sometimes worrying about, but it's changed for the betterment of mankind and society. And this is what keeps me driving my car until the wheels roll off. So I take my coffee, which I perk myself because I don't like that instant stuff. I've been perking it for a long time. I take my coffee with a splash of milk, with a little splash of Truvia, I love swatches cinnamon, and that's what starts my day after I wake up and tell God, thank you for letting me see another day and allowing me to walk the path that He has designed for me. Thank you.